Welcome, everyone, to District 31 Club Close-Up. Toastmasters in District 31, outside of District 31, and guests who want to know more about Toastmasters. You've come to the right place. This is a video interview series where I interview clubs from District 31. We learn about their club, the great things that they're doing to engage existing members and to recruit new ones. I'm your host, Christian Austin. I'm the 2023-2024 District 31 Public Relations Manager. And today we have an episode where we'll be speaking with Toast with Friends Toastmasters. They had a fantastic year last year in the 2022-2023 year. And we have two officers here. Their titles reflect their officer roles last year. They achieved select distinguished status. For those who don't know, that means in the Distinguished Club program, they earned 7 out of 10 points. Let's give them a round of applause for that. Most clubs do not get a distinguished status, and Toast with Friends earned select distinguished status. Quite an accomplishment. For those who want to know more about the Toast with Friends Toastmasters Club, they are a community club, which means that you're welcome to join as a guest. There's no restrictions. Anyone can come visit the club. It's an in-person club that also does hybrid, but the focus is on in-person. And they're a relatively new club, founded in 2014. Not one of the oldest clubs in the district, but many experienced officers in the club, and we'll be talking with two of them this evening. We'll provide additional club information at the end of the interview and also in the show notes if you'd like to join one of the meetings. Today, we'll be doing an interview in a panel discussion format where I will be the moderator and our two club officers here will be the panelists. Before we get started, I want to make sure all of you are ready with your notes because you are going to be garnering some fantastic information that you can bring back to your club during this panel discussion this evening. Before we get started, though, I'd like the officers joining me this evening to both introduce themselves. I'd like to start with Steve. Steve, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Christian, for having us. As you can see on the Zoom, my name is Steve Scally. I've been a member of Toast with Friends in Brookline since the beginning of 2018. And this past year, 2022 to 2023, I served as the club president. It was my second time serving as club president. First time was a couple of years ago. And since joining the club, I've served in a multitude of different roles, Sergeant Arms, Secretary, VPE, and President twice. And it has been a great experience these past 5.5 years to really learn how to get over my fear of speaking and also get some good leadership experience in the process.
Thank you for that, Steve. Next, Deb, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Toastmasters and future Toastmasters. My name's Deb Suick. I've been a Toastmaster since 2011. In Toast with Friends, I was one of the original mentors for the club. One very good friend of mine who's no longer with us, Nancy Murphy, started the club in Brookline, and it's been a tremendous success ever since we started. We are very lucky to have her as our founder. I have had all the officer roles. I've been an area governor, which was what they called it back then, area director. I was a, let's see, what else? Pathways representative. I've done it all. And I love to talk Toastmasters. I talk about Toastmasters all the time. I earned my DTM many years ago. I'm working on my second in the Pathways program. So you just might see me around. I can't wait to meet you all in person someday. Christian.
Thanks for that, Deb. As we heard from Steve and Deb, a lot of leadership experience. Deb also mentioned area governor, which is now area director, DTM, distinguished Toastmaster, things that you might not be familiar with, those leadership positions, distinguished awards in Toastmasters. We'll put those in the show notes, and you can go to Toastmasters International or Google for both of them to find out more information about those leadership roles and the Distinguished Toastmaster Award. Let's get started now with the panel discussion. The first question I'd like to ask both of you is, how would you describe your club, Toast with Friends? And if you had a motto, what would it be?
Steve,
Sure, I can start with this one. I would say our club is very supportive and very fun. So I think that we do a very good job during the meeting, both providing people with actionable feedback for how to improve their table topics and speeches. But I think most importantly, we have fun during our meetings, and it's really, it's really a nice place for people to not just like face their fears with public speaking, but also unwind a little bit and hang out with people in their community.
it's true. Steve mentioned something very important. All of us who show up at the meetings, we're tired, we're grumpy, and by the end of the meeting, we all had a great time. And it's like all that grumpiness and all that stuff from work is gone, and we're just laughing and carrying on. Fun is really our number one product outside of learning how to talk, learning how to speak, learning how to get our message across, learning how to lead. Because when you're having fun, you learn.
Couldn't agree with you more, Dad. How else do you learn? You don't want to go to a Toastmasters meeting like you're going to a tutorial drill where you have the instructor who's got that yardstick out, slapping it on the chalkboard saying, do your speech now. You got to make it fun, have people have some levity. You mentioned people come in, they may be tired from the day. They come in, they have fun, they come out of the meeting in a better mood than when they went into the meeting. And that creates a great, great club atmosphere. Is there anything in particular that you're doing to have fun, or is it just the general attitude of your member base who have smiles on their face and just have a good time, and they just spread that fun to everyone else?
The first thing that we've
sorry,
go,
Deb,
you
you
want
go.
to do, I was just
No,
going to say, the first
go
thing that comes to mind is we've come into the process of using a lot of themes, and a lot of our themes for meeting themes are very silly. They can be anything from the phases of the moon to trick-or-treating to your favorite candy. It just doesn't matter, as long as there's something that people can laugh about and talk about when they show up. I think that's been a big help. So when we come in, that people who have no idea what Toastmasters is about can come in and say, they're talking about candy? I like this.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see what sort of tidbits the Toastmaster comes up with in accordance with their theme, and sometimes our table topics master will also come up with topics that align with that theme, and you get that sort of continuity all the way through.
Yeah, that continuity, meeting themes, that's a great point as well. Maybe even putting that on the agenda. Today's meeting theme is going to be X. Maybe it's about candy. You get people thinking about candy before they come in the meeting, and the Toastmaster and the table topics master may have a really creative theme around that candy. And as you said, everyone can relate to candy. Candy is something people like, and it's a great topic that you can have some fun with. So getting creative, making people laugh, and having fun, again, makes for a great, great meeting atmosphere. Let's move on now to membership. I would like to know, what is your process for getting new members engaged in meeting roles and giving speeches? Sometimes those new members, they want to sit in the back of the room. They're real hesitant. That's why they came to the club. They're not really comfortable speaking. So how does Toast with Friends make them one of your friends and get them comfortable coming up and speaking in those meeting roles?
We have, and we borrowed this from another club, I'll admit it. We have a program called the Role Master, and people get awards at the end of the year if they filled every role on the agenda. So that becomes a goal that's fun and outside of just giving a speech, because you have to do a speech to get the Rollmaster Award, but we get awards at the end of the year. That's always a fun little email to get after every meeting that says, this is where everybody stands. Who's next? Our president and myself, we write lots and lots of emails during the week and between the intercession between the two meetings in the month of who's signing up for your next meeting. And if there's somebody in particular that has not stood up as vice president of education, I'll go talk to them and ask them why not. I always point them to the easy roles. Be timer. You don't have to do anything except use a stopwatch, and then you can go, okay, be counter. That's an easy one. Make fun of people just saying ahs and ums. That's fun. And, once they get those under their belt and they've done a couple table topics, and the next thing you know, they're ready to give their icebreaker. Because remember, an icebreaker is only as long as 2 table topics. Something to remind them.
And something else we did last fall, Deb, I think this was your idea. We had an influx of a bunch of new members at the time, but we didn't have many people giving speeches because, it takes time to get comfortable enough to give a speech. And so what we did is we dedicated a meeting to being a panel about speech writing, where we had the 2 of us, and we also had a couple members from other clubs come in and talk to the club base to answer any questions that they might have around giving speeches. So each person went through and answered questions, and then we had a breakout session too, where we got into smaller groups and went through these different worksheets. And we saw afterwards that we had, over the next couple months, that people were a little more ready to give a speech now that they knew, they heard more from us about our process for giving speeches. And I thought that was really cool to see.
Yeah, they liked hearing that my first icebreaker was horrible, and it was. I still have it. I look at it and I go, oh, I can't believe I gave that speech. But we all learn, right? Now I've given 13 or 14 since then, so it's gotten better.
We all have to start somewhere, right? I'm sure everyone thinks back to that first icebreaker and says, oh my goodness, I don't know how I got up there. Well, that's how you started, right? You had to get up there and you had to do an icebreaker as your first one. Thinking about that, it might be interesting, since you have that written out again, to give that at a meeting in the future with your experience now and see how it comes out this time around.
It could be interesting. It would be much, much easier to give, and I definitely give it a rewrite. I've learned a few things.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about learning a few things, Steve, you mentioned doing a speech writing workshop. It sounded like maybe there was another club that joined you, but the point of doing an educational type event during a meeting to educate people on speech writing, it sounds like that was fairly successful in getting people engaged and giving more speeches in the future. Are you thinking about maybe doing that as a repeated event when it's time to spur speeches?
That's
if
really
we
good
have
question.
A bunch of new members, yeah. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Steve.
I don't think we've specifically had any discussions around regularly doing it, but I think it's definitely something that is on our mind. Like if we see the same sort of situation emerge, we have a lot of newer members and they're not quite comfortable giving speeches, and maybe we do it again.
Yeah.
Do you know if members are using the speeches that they started drafting up during that educational session, or it does seem that way?
Yeah, I know in particular a couple of people I worked with at that workshop came to me afterwards and said, here's my first outline, what do you think? And gave the speeches eventually. Getting them to give the second one now has been a little harder, but they've done it once. They understand the process. But it was a lot of fun to do that, and I think the members appreciated it.
You heard fun again, an educational workshop that was fun, spurred people to give more speeches. that's a great tip for everyone. If you see the speeches are starting to go to a lull, not a lot of people are showing up and giving speeches. The VP of Ed reaches out, as Deb said, still not getting those speeches. Maybe give that educational workshop to get people reinvigorated, give them some techniques to give some speeches in the future. Great idea on giving that educational workshop on speech writing. Do you want to talk about marketing and your membership recruiting this year as a select distinguished club and earning those 7 out of 10 points? Notice that in your dashboard on the Distinguished Club program, you recruited 14 new members this year. That is a lot of members to recruit in 1 year. So I'd like to know, what are some of the marketing methods that are working well to recruit members? And do you have any tips that you can give for recruiting new members?
Sure. So I think what's really benefited us as a club is the fact that we have our in-person component and that a lot of people come to our in-person meetings. So that, people are, they might be looking on the Toastmasters International website for clubs in their area, and they see that we meet in person, and that sort of initially attracts them to us. But I also think that doesn't probably do justice to the people in the club as well. I think we also do a really good job creating this, I think, welcoming experience for people when they get here. So something we've done is we've created this agenda role called the guest ambassador, and it's their specific responsibility to be the person that welcomes guests, like introduces themselves, and just generally makes them feel comfortable. Because sometimes you can get into a situation where if it becomes everybody's responsibility to welcome the guest and the VPM isn't there that night, then maybe someone doesn't come over to the guest immediately. And I think it also doubles on the flip side for members who might be a little bit more shy to step into a role where they have to be more outgoing and welcoming, and so it creates this situation, I think, where the members they have a really good first impression when they come to our meetings.
Agreed. We are lucky to be in a very good location. Brookline is an excellent place to have a club. Our founder picked it on purpose. She wanted us to be there. She did. She said, I've always wanted a club in Brookline, and she started one. There's a lot of young people there. There's a lot of young professionals there. There's a lot of people who just are around there. We get most of our people through Toastmasters International Find a Club. I'm not going to lie. And then they email us, and our vice president of membership answers every single email. And they say, please come to our meeting. We'd love to have you. Here's when our next meeting is. Feel free to contact me. And they keep in contact. And these people all already feel welcome because, wow, they know my name. And when they walk in, he knows their names. That really is everything. You walk into a club blind, or you walk into a club saying, there's somebody here who knows me already. So I think that part of it, that was started by a previous member. She wrote the best welcome emails, and we've kind of adopted them and continue to use them as we've grown. She was wonderful. So that is everything. Answer your emails. Get back to the people who ask you questions. They will come if you answer your emails. And then after the meeting, you thank them for coming. Oh my goodness. Do you know how good that feels to get an email saying thank you for coming? So I've heard, I don't know how many times I've heard, I don't have time to write these people, whatever. It's baloney. If you don't write them back, they're not going to come.
So what I've heard, right, is they come in, it's Toastmasters International, right? Nothing the club has to pay for. It's that find a club. People are searching. They're in a great location, as you said. People want to come there. But the most important part, people can reach out through Find a Club. If the VP of membership is not getting back to them, or whoever's responsible in the club, they're going to go elsewhere because they don't feel welcome from the very start. Nobody is welcoming them then to the club, inviting them to a meeting. the fact that you said that the VP of membership gets to know their name as well, and you have that guest ambassador role, I can just see coming to a club for the first time. It's always fairly awkward when you don't know people, and especially if you're going into a situation where you're not comfortable speaking in public, and that's why you're there. You have somebody greeting you, they know your name, and then they're asking you what your experience is after the meeting. That's the definition of being welcome to a community and making people feel comfortable. Just in any social situation, right? You're treating it as you're welcoming a guest, you're making them part of the community, and they want to join the community afterwards. And then how is the follow-up process after they leave the meeting? Is there follow-up emails or phone calls that the club will usually do to ask them if they want to become members or what their experience is, if they're coming back again?
That's another something I learned from Nancy when she founded the club. Every person who comes to the club is asked and told right there before they leave the room, we would love for you to come back and join the club. So right there, that's the selling point. You ask somebody right there and then to join the club. Once they get that, then the VP of membership, he writes more emails saying, you know, our next meeting is this time, feel free to come. Do you want an application? Blah, blah, whatever it takes. We invite them back and we invite them to join. Always invite people to join. Don't wait for them to say, how do I join? Always invite them first.
Yeah, invite them to join, invite them to come back. If they keep on coming back and you keep on asking the question, there's a reason they're coming back. They like the club and they will eventually join. And that is why you have a 14 number for your new memberships last year, using those techniques of welcoming from the very beginning, welcoming in the meeting, and then making them feel part of the community, both in the meeting and outside of the meeting afterwards, and they'll continue to come back. Thanks for sharing that on recruiting new members to your club. It is clear why you've gotten 14 members this year using that technique. Also, membership retention is very important in a club as well. You can recruit new members, but if you're losing more members than you're recruiting, your net membership is going to continue to go down. But retention and member loss is just natural part of club dynamics. People have a change in life, they move, life circumstances come up. So what does the club do as far as trying to retain members? Do you have any specific examples, and what any best practices for trying to keep your members engaged so that they continue to come to meetings and stay members of the club?
I know it sounds kind of, I guess, maybe cliche, but I think part of it is making the club a place that people want to continue participating in. And I think that's very important, because if people are having fun and they're enjoying each other's company, they're enjoying, being able to see each other, see their fellow members once every 2 weeks, then they keep coming back. So
that's part of it. I know that we try our best to give them a good introduction to how Pathways works and how Toastmasters works. It's really a lot to take in, but we're there for them if they need that. When we had more, let me put it that way, experienced members, we're happy to assign mentors, but right now we don't have enough of the more experienced members to do that. They come back because we write them. We just did that. The president gave me a list of names. Deb, can you write these? The new president, can you write these people? You know them better than me. And she wrote a bunch of other ones. And our treasurer wrote a bunch of other ones, people we hadn't seen in a while. Said, hey, we haven't seen you in a while. What's happening? Is something wrong? Are you coming back? We don't, no pressure, but we'd love to see you again. And two of the people didn't all reply, but two of the people I wrote, one said, no, I can't come back. I'm moving. It's like, okay. And the other one said, I've been so busy. We moved this summer. I'll be back in the fall. It's like, great. and he knows he's welcome. So that's what you have to do. You just have to follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. It's the same in any business.
And I'll say follow up one more time. Follow up and then welcome. You said, let them know that they're welcome to the club, right? They go off, something happens. If they just hear crickets from the club, maybe that wasn't really the community for me. People are not really thinking about me. I got lost. Somebody reaches out to you personally, just like before they join the club. Wow, I'm really touched that they remembered me and they want me to come back to the meeting. It's more of that personal touch, and they're more likely to come back, even if life circumstances are getting in the way. So we'll say follow up one more time, Deb.
Follow up.
Next, going on, we're talking about welcoming guests and following up. You've mentioned a system that's in place of writing the emails. Is there any, say, templates, or are they all personalized emails? That follow-up system that you described of reaching out to people, of writing those emails, is that something that it sounds like it may be distributed amongst officers as a VP of membership responsibility? And are there email templates or a system in place you have for that?
We have used something like a template, although you're welcome to change it to make it sound more like you. I've done that a couple times myself. I read an email going, I can't send that. That's not me. But essentially, it's got the important information in there, what you need to ask these people. If they're, a guest asking information, if they're a guest that's been there, if there's somebody asking about joining, whatever they need, you just have the basic information you need to send them, but you can put it into your own words.
Yeah, really important points. Templates sound very cold and impersonal. However, what you mentioned, there's key points in that template, information that need to get out to guests and members. That's the advantage of having that template. It's not about being cold and just cranking out those emails. It's making sure that you don't forget the information that you do want to send out to any of the members and guests as well.
Right.
So what's the next question, Steve? Unless you had anything you wanted to say on that, we'll move on to the next one.
I think Deb covered it pretty well.
Great.
Thank you.
We're going back to meeting roles and best practices in general that the club does as far as systems. What are the best practices that Toast with Friends is using for filling meeting roles ahead of the meeting time, not scrambling in the beginning of the meeting, taking up 10 minutes out of your meeting time and getting those roles filled, having those filled beforehand, having people prepared and ready to start the meeting on time?
Sure. So some of it is sending out a couple email reminders about the meeting in the coming days. And then hopefully if somebody volunteers as Toastmaster, they kind of take over that process from the VP of Education, and they're the one who is then sending more reminders saying, oh, hey, this is what the theme's going to be, come join us this Wednesday, etc. And so some of it is that, I think. And then I think some of it is also what Deb touched on a little earlier with this award we do called Role Master. And it's something that another one of our members stole. Well, he was area director. She was doing this. She was like, oh, this is a great idea. We're like, sure, like we'll do it too. So as part of my secretary term last year, I wrote this little program that sends out this email to the club that basically shows like all the roles you've completed on the agenda and how many more you have to do. And then it also has a link to the next meeting's agenda. And so I think that, made it a little bit of like, I guess a little bit of a game for some people to say, oh, I need to get my next role thing to make sure I can get like the award at the end of the year.
That's it. We also send a lot of emails with we use Free Toast, so you're able to send the agenda with notes on the top. I like to send goofy pictures or nice pictures, and just try to get their attention. If you send the same thing all the time, people don't read the emails. I learned that a long time ago. So you have to do something on those emails to make them interesting. So I put interesting pictures on the top, or I make a funny joke on the top. And our president, she's hilarious. She writes all sorts of funny stuff too, and she'll do the same thing. So between the two of us right now, they're getting overwhelmed with emails saying, sign up for a role. But it works. There's always one or two, and we had a couple of meetings this summer that there was just, 6 people there. There's nothing you can do. Summer vacations come along. It happens to us too, even though we have 24 or 25 people in our club right now. So it is what it is. You just keep going. And as long as you have 3 people, we have a meeting because you can do table topics.
That's a great point. You never want to have just 3 people in the meeting, but you can run a table topics meeting and you can have multiple topics as well. But to emphasize the point of having a strong membership base, right? If you're at that 3 to 6 people joining a meeting because of life circumstances, people going on vacation during the summer, it's just hard to run that effective meeting. So to emphasize the importance of having that membership base, to have people stepping up to roles. The other couple of things that you mentioned as well of getting people to sign up for those roles, I really like the goofy pictures, the jokes in the email, right? So they don't just go to spam. Oh, another email about signing up for a role. Well, I'm not really into this. Well, what is this picture about? Let me open this up, and wow, that's kind of funny. I'm going to read it. And, you start the fun right before the meeting with that email role, get people engaged, get them to sign up for the roles. And then Steve, you mentioned the role master, and Deb as well. Stealing it from another club, I say that's borrowing best practices. I'm predicting people are going to take this video and steal some of the best practices from Toast from Friends as well. But that role master role, gamifying the whole process, how does that role master work? Is there a lottery, a number of points that people earn for signing up for roles? How do you determine who the winner is for the role master role?
Sure. So the way it works is that it's the winners are anybody who does each role at least once throughout the year. So there could be multiple winners, and the only rule is that you can only get credit for 1 role per meeting. So if you were grammarian and topics master, you can only get 1 of those. And so we keep track of that. Like as secretary, I was keeping track of that with this program I wrote, and then we'd send out the email that basically showed a grid of like, well, here's every person, and then here's every role, and then here's what people have done and what people haven't done. So it's not about there being a sole winner, and it's about, can you get to 1 of each role in a 12-month window.
Is there a recognition after the end of the year? How does that typically work?
Yeah, we're a little late from last year, and we're supposed to get it, I hope, next week, next meeting. But we'll see. We ran a little late the end of last year. The person who was ordering them went on vacation. Happens, right? But we do I got a hat my first year. I'm not sure, it's whatever silly thing it is. It's just reminiscent of the old CL manual for those of you who were been around when we had the competent leadership manual, and you tried to get all the 10 different things so you can get your competent leadership award. Well, it's sort of like that, although it's not official, it's more fun.
Great points. That's one of the things with the competent leadership. It used to get people to fill those roles. This role master, if you're finding a void in your club, try that role master role out. And as far as recognition, even if it's late, you are recognizing members. That recognition makes people know that they are valued for what they're contributing to the club. Whatever that is that you're recognizing them with, even if it's just a verbal, really important to make people feel like they're part of that community of the Toast with Friends Club.
Absolutely. It's announced at meetings and it's in our emails. So people know that people did it And they're like, oh, maybe next year I can do it. I was 9 out of 10 or whatever it was. So you can get pretty close pretty fast if you start filling roles. We have somebody this year is already halfway through. I'm like, wow, not even September yet. But he did that last year too. So it doesn't really surprise me. He decided he was going to go for it and went for it. We've having little awards, of course, we always notice, we notice icebreakers, we notice level ups, we notice all the things. We used to have ribbons. Well, they luckily came up with ribbons again. Yay, Toastmasters. So we still have the icebreaker award. They still have level ribbons you can give people. Some clubs who have more money than us give out the pins. We don't do that. We just stick with the ribbons, and we announce it, and we put it on the emails, and so everybody knows you're called out for saying, hey, they did something great, so people like to be recognized.
And that spreads and encourages other people to sign up as well. This is fun, a nice award that they're achieving. It's a bit of a game. It turns into a game for everyone. Again, that fun aspect. And then mentioned in the beginning and talking about your club being a community club, just for everyone, community club, again, as we mentioned the beginning of the interview, I should say panel discussion, is open to anyone who wants to join as a guest to see what Toast with Friends is like. So my question to Deb and Steve are, do you find that members, being a community club, people from diverse backgrounds joining your club, do you find that they have highly variable goals? And if they do, how do you ensure that the members achieve their goals and remain engaged in the club?
I think it's really interesting because people do have very variable goals, but they also all have the same couple goals. So everybody wants to be more confident and better at public speaking. And also another common goal is improving your English speaking as well. But then people also have very individual goals too. People want to get better at, specifically maybe PowerPoint presentations, or somebody wants to get better at speaking in front of a judge because they're a lawyer, and so it's very interesting to see the combination of variable goals, but all nested within the same goals and the same sort of broader goals. And I think there's a uniting effect there, the fact that everybody's really going after the same thing, the same, desire to get better at more confident in public speaking.
Absolutely. People want to get their message across. That's number one. And then two, we do have a lot of people in business not really going out there to become great orators. So they do appreciate learning how to run a meeting and learning how to deal with timing of things. That's a big one. Once you've been to a meeting and somebody spoke, you appreciate why we have a timer. And so they come in, they learn the leadership part of it in spite of themselves, and then they learn to get their message across. And no matter what it is, whether you are you're a group project leader in IT, or whether you're a lawyer, or whether you're an artist. We do have an artist. We do have, I'm not even sure, teachers. We've got, they come from all different walks, but the idea is to be able to organize their thoughts and get their message across.
Good point you made too, Deb. You mentioned timing. We didn't mention that throughout. We talked about public speaking. We talked about leadership, making sure that you can keep that talk on time, keep it tight, and get to the point. 5 to 7 minutes are typically the speech times, which sometimes people don't think about when they're writing a speech, and calling out that timing to make sure that they remain within that meeting time that they need to hit.
It's a big thing. It's a big thing, learning to pace yourself, learning to speak, learning to time yourself. It's helpful no matter what they do the rest of their life.
Definitely is. And I have to say, both Deb and Steve, you have other things you need to do with your day as well. And we have to come to the conclusion at some point, because although we're not timed, you don't have forever for this panel discussion. So we're down to the final question to conclude the panel discussion. I'd like to know from both of you, why should somebody come visit your club? And what advice would you give fellow Toastmasters about your club, or just Toastmasters in general?
I'll go first. So why you should visit our club? I think we've, laid out plenty of points for, why we have fun at meetings, how we have fun at meetings, and if you're looking to try attending a new club, even if you just want to do a one-off, absolutely feel free to join us in Brookline. Our next meeting is actually in 2 weeks on the 12th, 13th, Wednesday the 13th, not Tuesday the 12th. As for advice that I think, I'm going to answer the second part of the second question. Advice that I would give to fellow Toastmasters, I think that consistency is probably my biggest piece of advice for newer Toastmasters. So if you're a newer Toastmaster and you're not really sure how to, that you're nervous when it comes to public speaking, and that you want to get better and you're not quite sure how, I would say it's more important to consistently attend, consistently give speeches, consistently fill roles, than to be giving the perfect speech or doing the perfect job with a role.
That's good advice, Steve. My biggest point would be, if you don't know what you're doing and you're not sure about your club, visit other clubs. I've been to many, many different clubs in my life, between rolling out pathways or being an area governor or just visiting other clubs. Different clubs have different atmospheres. You need to find one that works for you. Some people like things a little more strict. We're a little more loose. I particularly like looser clubs because I enjoy fun, but other people prefer things to be a little more strict and follow the rules a little more tightly. We never break the rules, but we can bend them on occasion. Find what's going to work for you. Not every club is right for you. We would love to have you come to our club. We love guests. You can contact us. The best way, honestly, is through Find a Club, because that'll go to our free Toast site. And those emails are ridiculously long, and I can't tell you what it is. But please feel free. We do have a web. We do have an Instagram. We have a Facebook. I don't think we have a Twitter. I'm not sure anymore, or an X, as they call it. Just go visit a club and find one that fits. And then, as Steve said, do it. Toastmasters works if you do it. I tell people that all the time. I always want to tape their first speech and their third speech and let them see the difference in 3 speeches. It's tremendous. It works. Come and visit us. Come and visit another club. Any club. If your club's not working, try another club. It's worth doing. And if you can't do it right now, you can always come back. We love having people come back. So we hope to see you, if not in our club, at a district conference. Maybe we'll be doing in person. I'm hoping we'll be doing in-person contests this year, but we'll see. And maybe we'll have a big district conference in May, and maybe I'll meet more of you. So, fellow Toastmasters, thank you, Christian. We had a great time.
Thank you, Deb and Steve. And just to reemphasize, there'll be information in the show notes and at the very right at the end of this video here about how you can join Toast with Friends as a guest. Again, they're on the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of every month from 7 until 9 p.m. at the Brookline Senior Center on Winchester Street in Brookline. We'll include that information. If this meeting time changes, just make sure that you visit the website that we'll put in the show notes to see the most up-to-date meeting information. In conclusion, what I got out of this Toast with Friends, you all become friends of the members that join your club. It's a big community, fun during meetings. You're welcome from the first contact with Find a Club as a guest in the meeting through the guest ambassador. You're welcomed and let know that you are part of the community during and after the meeting. Fill those roles, earn yourself an award, get that Role Master award, and join that next meeting. As Steve and Deb said, it's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. That's how you get better. And maybe when you join that next meeting, you'll have the opportunity to talk about the theme, which just may be candy. Have a great night, everyone, and I wish Deb and Steve, you and Toast with Friends, the best year ever coming up.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Christian.